Good morning. My name is Maureen Harvey, and I am a gray-haired, short, older white woman wearing black and purple. My pronouns are she, her, and I am the worship associate this morning. Welcome to First Unitarian Church, where our mission is to explore the eternal, nurture community, and pursue the common good. I am happy to have this dedicated hour to remove myself from the chaos and be present here as part of this beautiful, thriving community. Thank you to our team of volunteers and the staff who make Sunday mornings possible. A special welcome to our participants online. If you are joining us on YouTube, please introduce yourself to each other in the chat. And for those who are in the sanctuary, we encourage you to check in at one you see on your favorite social media platform to share this experience with your friends. Then be sure your phone is on silent so that we can avoid being distracted for the next hour. Our minister, the Reverend Kent Doss, is not leading the worship today. Today we get to hear from the Reverend Dr. Mark Davies. The Reverend Dr. Mark Davies is the Wimberly Professor of Social and Ecological Ethics at Oklahoma City University and holds several other positions at Oklahoma City University, where he has worked for 29 years. He is an ordained elder in the Oklahoma Conference of the United Methodist Church, where he serves as chair of the Board of Church and Society. Mark engages in advocacy and activism in the areas of peace, social justice, and ecological sustainability. Locally, he works with the Human Community Network, which creates nonviolent systemic change for a just and flourishing human and ecological community through collaboration, education, innovation, and action. You may notice there is a lot going on at 1UC these days, and I want to point out two events today. The bookstore is being liquidated. So we're having a last chance book sale today in Daniel Hall, and for a donation, you can take what you like. And at the same time, we're signing letters of concern about immigration to Governor Stitt and Senator Lankford. A group of clergy from Voice will be meeting with them this week, and they will hand carry our concerns. They already have 500 signed letters from Tulsa, and they would like to have 500 from Oklahoma City. There is more information about events in the order of service, the weekly newsletter, and on our website. We strive to share information, so staying informed about community life is a shared responsibility. If you are not yet on our email list, please use the QR code in the order of service to sign up. If you are online, you can sign up under the newcomers section of our website. Now let's take a short moment to turn and greet one another. It must be the weather, huh? Everybody's so, ooh. Thank you for helping create the warm welcome of this community. After the service, please stick around to continue your conversations and hopefully make some new friends in the social hall. The flowers on the altar table this morning were donated by Anna Longhorn in honor of her daughter Everest's 4th birthday. And they are beautiful. If you are participating online, you may want to light a candle or chalice at home as we light our chalice here. This morning, our chalice is being lit by Diane Broyles, and it was supposed to be Diane Broyles and Becky Talent. But as many of you may have heard, Becky broke her arm, and so she's watching online. Her birthday is this week, and Diane's birthday is coming up this week, too. So they were lighting together. We light our chalice in Midtown, Oklahoma City, on land that was home to First Americans, including the Apache, Caddo, and Wichita, on land that was taken from the Muskogee and Seminole and other removed and relocated peoples. We are Unitarian Universalists with minds that think, hearts that love, and hands that are ready to serve. Together, we care for our earth and work for friendship and peace in our world. Please join me in reading our covenant. The words can be found in the order of service. And also up here, I think. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Today's opening words are written by Kathy Huff. Spirit of life, be present with us this hour. Join us today as we gather in a wider search for truth and purpose. In this quest, may we greet one another with open hearts and minds. May we inspire each other to consider new questions and seek deeper meaning. May we cultivate wisdom and compassion. Let all who enter this sanctuary see a welcome face, hear a kind word, and find comfort in the community. And may all that is done and said here today be in service to love and justice. Now please rise in body or spirit and join in singing hymn number 318 in the gray hymnal, We Would Be One.
Good morning. I am Reverend Kent. I'm a tallish middle-aged white man. I am not wearing a black clergy robe, but a reddish button-down shirt and gray slacks, and I use he, him pronouns. I get to share our time for all ages this morning. Sometimes you might have noticed in works of art Artists will use light and color to point out things that are really important to them or things that are life-giving. So I invite you to notice where color shows up in our story this morning. It's called A Children's Garden. A boy saw it after a night of rain, a speck of green in the rubble, peeping up towards the sunlight. He moved some broken bricks so that nothing would fall and crush the tiny plant. He didn't know what sort of plant it was, a flower or a weed. He just knew it would struggle to survive. The boy searched around and found an old can which had a little rainwater. He brought it to the plant. "Drink up," he whispered. "Drink up." The sun was climbing in the sky, and the boy gave the plant shade with some old sacking and wire. The boy's world was a place of ruin and rubble, ringed by a fence of barbed wire. In the hot, dry summer, the air was thick with dust. Faraway hills shimmered in the haze. The boy knew that cool streams flowed in those hills. He used to go there with his father, but now the hills were on the wrong side of the wire. Over the following weeks, he cared for his secret garden. Soon the green tendrils reached to the high barbed wire fence. Now the boy could tell it was a vine, a grapevine. It spread along the fence and gave shade to its own tender roots, which in turn sent up more shoots. Birds and butterflies came, bringing seeds and pollen on their wings. The garden grew. It was no longer secret. Friends came to sit in its shade, and it became a playground for the children. Then one day, soldiers came and destroyed everything. They threw the vine in a ditch on the other side of the wire. The boy thought his heart would break. Winter came. The boy and his family shivered in the cold and damp of their ruined home. Spring came late. After the first night of rain for weeks, the boy noticed green shoots all along the ditch. Some seeds from his vine must have survived the winter. He worried about the new shoots. He couldn't get close enough to water them. They were on the other side of the wire. Then one evening, he saw a little girl playing by the ditch. She had a bucket, and she was sprinkling water on the tiny plants. Each evening she returned. The boy hoped the soldiers wouldn't notice, but they didn't seem to mind plants growing on their side of the fence. Then one day the boy saw tiny specks of green peeping from the rubble where his garden had been. "Look," he yelled. "Come and see, my vine has come back." He began collecting water and once more tending his garden. Soon it reached the wire and it became entwined with the green tendrils from the girl's garden side. The barbed wire disappeared. Under leafy shade, and new garden became home once more to birds and butterflies. Let the soldiers return, thought the boy. Roots are deep and seeds spread. One day the fence will disappear forever, and we will be able to walk again into the hills. Here ends our story. And it's time now to sing our children and youth out on their way to their club activities for art today. We are singing Go Now in Peace. So let us sing them on their way.
Wow, 4 verses. It's great. When I was 20, I had a motorcycle accident, and I spent 4 months in traction, an archaic treatment by today's standards. The experience caused me to sit still and think about my life situation. I was living paycheck to paycheck, working in a bank, and a second job as a spacette at the Astrodome, riding the bus to both jobs. I had no goals and no direction. When I discharged, I enrolled in college and my life took off. I am grateful for all of these experiences, for they provided me with grit, empathy, and good stories. I noticed on Halloween, people were having fun and there was lots of levity. Although there was a lot of that melted face from Scream on children of all ages, who were still very polite. No one was dressed as an ICE agent, and most were in fun costumes that made me smile. It was the kind of levity we saw at the No Kings rally many of us attended recently. There were big puffy animals and funny signs and so much connection. We crave this, and I wonder if the measures being taken to divide us won't result in more connection, not less. Apparently, after Trump rallies and his inaugurations, there were miles of trash left behind, where in the aftermath of the No Kings rallies, there was very little to clean up. What does this say about community? When Timothy McVeigh bombed the Murrah building in 1995, he unleashed unthinkable chaos and destruction on our city. But our overwhelming reaction to such a heinous act was to come together, to rush in and help in any way we could. I still get emotional thinking about the many kindnesses that soothed and comforted us. UU churches from afar sent paper cranes, notes, and cards of encouragement, and pictures from children. People traveling through Oklahoma City left mementos on the fence, whatever they had, a hair scrunchie, a t-shirt, anything to convey their solidarity. This is what community does. Alienation is a big problem in our country. People spend their lives on social media, playing games as an avatar and watching influencers, perfect people presenting perfect lives on TikTok. Life is messy and full of emotions, rejection, anxiety, anger, sadness, and the daily dish of chaos coming from our leaders is enough to make anyone stay in bed all day. However, I know if we ignore our emotions, they will make their presence known in ways that may contribute more chaos: addiction, self-destruction, and rage. I learned working in mental health that it always boils down to a disconnection from the self. We must connect to ourselves before we can connect to each other, and connecting to ourselves comes from experiencing ourselves, warts and all. Our faults are what make us human, and it is our humanity that connects us. There is an expression that is attributed to the Chinese, but it's actually the English. May you live in interesting times. Don't we, though? When we look back on the history of our country, and probably of the world, great change comes out of chaos. The antidote is community, and we are lucky to have this community at First Unitarian. But we also need to build community everywhere we live, at work, with our neighbors and our schools. This is how we thrive through the chaos of today, and this is how we stay ready to rebuild when the chaos is inevitably gone. Generosity is a spiritual practice that we embrace every Sunday when we take an offering. All the cash and designated checks are distributed directly to an external nonprofit organization doing good work in the world. This month, our offering supports VOICE. VOICE is an acronym that stands for Voices Organized in Civic Engagement. The organization is a coalition of dues-paying congregations, nonprofits, unions, and schools that have come together to address the pressures families face in the Oklahoma City metropolitan area. First Unitarian is a proud founding member of VOICE. Over the years, working together on issues of common concern has been a transformative experience for everyone involved. To support the work of VOICE, we pay dues of 1% of our operating budget every year, and the collection goes toward this dues. As we enjoy the offertory music, our ushers will pass the offertory plate in the sanctuary. Online, you can make a gift through the One UC website or send a check to First Unitarian. Just write change for change on the memo line. Would the ushers please come forward and receive the offering?
Hello. My name is Mark Davies. I am a tall, white, no longer middle-aged man, entering soon into my third act of life. I'm wearing a blue shirt and khaki slacks, and I go by he, him, his pronouns. Our first reading this morning comes from Bell Hooks, from her work, Killing Rage, Ending Racism. She writes, "Beloved community is formed not by the eradication of difference, but by its affirmation, by each of us claiming the identities and cultural legacies that shape who we are and how we live in the world." Our second reading this morning comes from Martin Luther King Jr. from his 1967 book, Where Do We Go From Here? Chaos or Community. King writes, "A society is always eager to cover misdeeds with a cloak of forgetfulness. But no society can fully repress an ugly past when the ravages persist into the present. America owes a debt of justice which it has only begun to pay. If it loses the will to finish or slackens in its determination, history will recall its crimes, and the country that would be great will lack the most indispensable element of greatness, justice."
Let us take a short time out from the rush of our lives. Take a deep breath. Relax into the seat beneath you. Feel the support of this loving community. You are safe here. After the reading, let us join together in a short time of silence. This is a prayer for all the travelers, for the ones who start out in beauty, who fall from grace, who step gingerly, looking for the way back, and for those who are born into the margins, who travel from one liminal space to another, crossing boundaries in search of center. This is a prayer for the ones whose births are passing from darkness to darkness, who all their lives are drawn towards the light, and for those whose journeys are a winding road that begins and ends in the same place, though only when the journey is completed do they finally know where they are. For all the travelers, young and old, aching and joyful, weary and full of life, the ones who are here and the ones who are not here, the ones who are like you, and they're all like you, and the ones who are different, for in some ways we all travel alone. This is a prayer for traveling mercies and sure-footedness, for bread for your body and spirit and water, for your safe arrival, and for everyone you see along the way. Namaste.
It's always good to be with you. This congregation has played a significant role in my life over the years. I would visit sometimes as a 10, 11-year-old boy with my parents when they would come up here from Lawton, Oklahoma. Quite often, especially as I got older, my parents came up here to join the service about once a month when I was in college and shortly thereafter, until they helped to start the Unitarian Fellowship, Unitarian Universalist Fellowship in Lawton, and then the church after that. And I spoke a number of times as a visiting speaker in Lawton, and at a number of other Unitarian Universalist churches in Oklahoma, including here at First Unitarian Church of Oklahoma City. So being United Methodist, I've been kind of a circuit rider for UU churches over the years. Maybe that makes me a UUUM. I don't know. There are others out there that I know. When Kent told me that the theme of this month's services in November was gratitude, I was a little uncertain if I could muster the gratitude to speak about gratitude in times like these, and chaotic times like these, and times of suffering like these. But here goes. As we enter into a time of the year in which we traditionally reflect on gratitude and thanksgiving, I must admit that it is difficult to experience a feeling of gratitude in chaotic times like these. Political violence is on the rise. Governmental power is being misused and abused. High-profile critics of our government are being unjustly prosecuted by a Justice Department controlled by autocratic leaders seeking to punish their political opponents. Academic freedom and freedom of speech and assembly are under extreme threat, especially at our colleges and universities, which is the setting that I work in. Pristine areas of the environment, pristine areas of nature are being plundered for short-term and unsustainable economic gain. Access to affordable health care for millions of persons is under imminent threat. Cities are being occupied by our own military. Immigrants are being disappeared into concentration camps both inside and outside of the United States and to other places we know not where. And families are being torn apart. Our Navy is blatantly flouting international law by carrying out extrajudicial executions of unidentified persons on boats who may or may not be connected to drug cartels. With SNAP benefits being frozen, millions of persons are struggling to find where their next meal will come from. And the most vulnerable among us are experiencing increased attacks simply for being who they are. In chaotic times like these, it's difficult to feel gratitude. It's difficult to feel a sense of gratitude when so many persons are experiencing unnecessary suffering. To make matters worse, the institutions that we thought would protect us from autocracy and fascism have proven to be grossly inadequate. And they are more often than not part of the problem rather than part of the solution. Sometimes it's difficult to see a light at the end of the fascist tunnel in which we as a society currently find ourselves. Martin Luther King Jr. posed a question in 1967, which I think is as relevant now as ever before. That question was, where do we go from here? Chaos or community? Where do we go from here? Chaos or community? Though we long for beloved community, we are experiencing chaos. And now we must ask ourselves in chaotic times like these, how can we move forward towards beloved community? And how can we find courage? How can we responsibly live out gratitude for the experience of community in the midst of so much chaos? During times like these, I found it helpful to learn from the experience of others who found courage in times of chaos. Last month, I had the opportunity to be at a conference in Johannesburg, South Africa, and my time there led me to reflect on the courage that so many Black South Africans and their allies expressed during their experiences of the injustices of apartheid. In a time of extreme racial injustice and economic injustice, so many Black South Africans had the courage to resist apartheid, even though doing so came with grave risks to their freedom and to their very lives. And we feel a deep sense of gratitude for their courageous work for justice. No one from my generation or older will ever forget the 27 years that Nelson Mandela, who was a leader of the anti-apartheid movement, spent in prison before finally being released in 1990. Perhaps our memory of the triumph of Mandela's release from prison and his subsequent election to the presidency of South Africa might overshadow the fact that because of the courage of his convictions, Mandela languished in prison for 27 years. In reflecting on his time in prison and the sacrifices that he made in his resistance to apartheid, Mandela wrote these words, "I learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. The brave person is not one who does not feel afraid, but one who conquers that fear." As courageous as Mandela was, he could not resist apartheid alone. He needed the support and courage of his community, a community that included countless unknown persons who kept up the resistance to injustice even when all seemed lost. Some of those persons are well known. Some are well known to us. Reverend Desmond Tutu, for example, who I had the great privilege of meeting when he spoke at Oklahoma City University a number of years ago. He's an example of someone who tirelessly and relentlessly spoke out for justice and encouraged the rest of the world to be in solidarity with Black South Africans and end the evil of apartheid. Desmond Tutu reminded us all that we must have the courage to take sides in situations of injustice. We must have the courage to take sides in situations of injustice. Neutrality in relation to injustice is not a moral option. Tutu proclaimed, quote, "If you are neutral in situations of injustice, you have chosen the side of the oppressor." Neutrality did not bring the evil of apartheid to an end. It took the moral pressure of the international community through economic sanctions and economic boycotts of the apartheid government to finally bring justice to the people of South Africa. Justice requires taking a side. We are grateful. We have gratitude for Nelson Mandela and for Desmond Tutu, and for the countless others who had the courage to take the side of justice in South Africa. In our time of injustice and chaos, we will also need the support of a community we can trust. The support of a community we can trust in order to cultivate and sustain the courage that's necessary in times like these to take the side of justice. We need a community that shares a vision of doing the hard yet joyous work of making the beloved community a reality in our midst. The pressures to remain silent are ever present, and the risk of speaking out are real. But it is important to always remember that there are so many siblings within our community who are extremely vulnerable during this time for our country, and we cannot remain silent. History has shown us the danger of being silent in the face of hate and oppression and threats to human rights, and therefore we cannot be silent. Borrowing from the baptismal vows of my own faith tradition in the United Methodist Church, we say that every person is called to resist evil, injustice, and oppression in whatever forms they present themselves. It's critical that we have courage. Courage in our work to protect the most vulnerable from those who are actively seeking to do them harm. And they are actively seeking to do them harm. We need to find courage in the chaos for the sake of our transgender siblings whom the fascists want to erase. We must find courage in the chaos for our immigrant siblings whom the fascists want to disappear from our communities. We must find courage in the chaos for all of our sisters whom the fascists want to control with the shackles of patriarchy. We must find courage in the chaos for all those around the world whom fascists are threatening with the evil of violence and militarism. And we must find courage in the chaos for the millions of persons whom the fascists are sinking into poverty, disease, and economic injustice around the world. We need to find the courage in the chaos, not simply for the sake of courage. It's so important that we see clearly what is at stake right now for all of humanity and for all of life at this very moment. Autocrats around the world are now emboldened to take even more extreme measures to maintain and expand their power. Human rights for women, persons of color, and persons who are LGBTQIA+, that have taken so long to be recognized are under imminent threat. Preserving a livable climate hangs in the balance. Reproductive rights may soon be lost on a national level. Marriage equality is definitely on the target list for many Christian nationalists. True religious liberty is at grave risk of being engulfed by Christian nationalism. The power of oligarchs to shape and control our lives within society is becoming so strong as to almost be unbreakable. The institutions we hoped would protect the integrity of our democratic republic are being corrupted and are failing and hanging by a thread over the fire of fascism and authoritarianism. Communities who value justice hold a deep moral responsibility in times like these. It is our moral responsibility to keep the light of freedom, justice, and equity. These are good things. These are values. To keep freedom, justice, diversity, equity shining in the darkness. It is our moral responsibility not to be silent. It is our moral responsibility to protect the most vulnerable. It's our moral responsibility to this generation and generations of life to come to never give up, because every act of resistance counts in the work for true freedom and justice for all. Every act of resistance is necessary in the never-ending work to bend the long moral arc of the universe towards justice. It's our moral responsibility to find courage in the chaos, like so many who have gone before us. And you don't have to turn to other countries or other parts of the world to see this. Last weekend here in Oklahoma City, we remembered and we celebrated the life and work of Clara Luper and the courage of her students and others who participated in the sit-ins for justice here in Oklahoma City during the Civil Rights Movement in 1958 and following. And now this act of courage for justice is immortalized, so to speak, in bronze in downtown Oklahoma City for generations to come to see. I had the privilege of getting to know Clara Luper because we have the Clara Luper Scholars Program at Oklahoma City University that was named in her honor, and she came to visit the campus a number of times and to talk with the Clara Luper scholars and to inspire them. And I know that she would be pleased at the recognition and gratitude for her work and for the work of so many who stood up and in some cases sat down for justice and to end segregation. And having had some opportunity to speak with her in person and to hear her speak to our students, I also know that she would want all of us not only to remember her work for justice, she would want us to be inspired to resist injustice today in whatever form it is being expressed. She would want us not only to be grateful for her work, she would want us to be inspired by her work, to stand up, sit down, or do whatever it takes to protect the most vulnerable among us in our current time of chaos. May we find this courage. May we find this inspiration in our time of chaos. May we find this courage from one another in the continuing and never-ending life-giving work that we do together for justice and for a beloved community. Only then, if we have the courage and work together for a beloved community, only then will we have a chance to move from chaos to community. May it be so. Please rise in body or spirit to join in singing our closing hymn, which is 149 in our gray hymnal, Lift Every Voice and Sing.
And one quick message about this particular hymn. By the way, my name is Amelia Padalino. I go by she, her pronouns. And quick blurb about this hymn: Lift Every Voice and Sing is a powerful song. You may know it. It is often referred to as the Black National Anthem. It deserves to be sung with special attention. The lyrics name the violence of racism in this country. It is a song that can and should make us uncomfortable. Uncomfortable with the history that it calls upon, and uncomfortable with the fact that the struggle for racial justice continues. Let us join in singing this song of sorrow and of hope that grew out of an African American perspective.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise as the glistening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of a new day begun, let us march on till victory is won. Stony the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod, felt in the days when hope unborn had died. Yet with a steady beat, have not our weary feet come to the place for which our fathers sighed. We have come over a way with tears have been watered. We have come treading our path through the blood of the slaughtered. Out from the gloomy past till now we stand at last, where the white gleam of our bright star is cast. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, thou who hast brought us thus far places are God where we met thee. Lest our hearts, drunk with the wine of the world, we forget thee. Shadowed beneath thy hand, may we forever stand, true to our God, true to our native land.
We extinguish the flame to remind us love is the center. As we explore and rest, engage and heal, love remains the center. When all we can see is cold ashes, love remains.
May we go in hope, working for the beloved community that is yet to come. May we go in gratitude for the beloved community that is already here in our midst. And may we go in courage to do the never-ending work of love and justice together. Amen.